Welcome to today's webinar, Quality is Everyone's Responsibility, How to Reduce Cost of Poor Quality with an EQMS, sponsored by ETQ. I'm Dirk Ducharme, Editor-in-Chief for Quality Digest and your host for today's webinar. Well, we've all experienced it. A folder of process changes circulates the office for approvals, yet not everyone is aware of the updates, which can lead to an error. And whether caught before reaching customers or not, it's obvious the process itself needs to change. So, how do you ensure all standard operating procedures for quality are performed to avoid recalls and rework costs, customer dissatisfaction? Well, you use an electronic quality management system, of course. So today we're going to see a demonstration of the advantages that an EQMS has to offer for eliminating variations and waste from the production process. We're going to learn how an EQMS can reduce the time spent on document versions, review, and approval by 10%, guarantee teams are up to date on training and have access to documentation. Also, how to spot trends faster with real-time information for quality reports on deviations, CAPAs, timelines, and quality requirements. Before we get started, just a reminder that you can send us questions using the Q&A box. You can find the Q&A button down there in the bottom of your screen. There's a little menu bar down there that'll pop up. Click that Q&A button, send us your questions as you think of them. A recording of this webinar will be available one day after the webinar at about this time tomorrow. You will get an email with that information from Quality Digest. Finally, those of you who need a certificate of attendance, you have to answer one of the polling questions presented during this webinar. Okay, let's get started. We have three presenters today, Jennifer Bianchini, Maria Dose, and Wendy Royalty. Jennifer is the Senior Product Manager, Marketing Manager, I should say, at ETQ. She brings more than 12 years of experience in lead marketing roles from product marketing and demand generation to product management for SaaS solution organizations in several industries. Maria is the Associate Director of Quality Assurance for Streck, LLC, a medical device manufacturer in La Vista, Nebraska. She has a strong knowledge of US FDA and international medical device quality systems regulations, including MD-SAP, ISO. And finally, Wendy is Director of Regulatory Affairs and Material Inspection for Streck. She's been a leader in quality and regulatory affairs within the medical device industry for 26 years. Wendy is responsible for transitioning Streck from a paper-based quality management system to the ETQ Reliance EQMS. And Jennifer, I believe you are starting us off.
Yes, I am. And thank you, Dirk, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. Welcome. We're happy you could join us this afternoon. So taking a look at the agenda and taking the summary that Dirk just shared and breaking it down, what we're going to cover is I'll go over some of the factors that can make the world of quality management complex and the ripple effect that poor quality can have across your organization. And then we'll touch on how a quality management system can help with setting standards to help get those quality costs down. And then I'm really excited for Wendy and Maria to share how Streck transformed from the purple folder of changes to real-time visibility to reduce errors, waste, and downtime. And then we'll have, as Dirk had mentioned, plenty of time at the end to answer your questions. So don't be shy. Enter your questions into the chat because this time is for you, helping you to be the quality champion. So let's go ahead and dive in, shall we? Okay, so I'd like to start this off with a quick poll question. I'd love to kind of get the pulse on what some of the biggest sources of quality cost are at your organization. So you can select more than one answer here. So taking a look at some of the options that we have, is it supply chain? Your suppliers aren't quite coming through with your requirements, or is it scrap? there are high volumes of scrap that are affecting your bottom line? Or is it rework? The product is not getting done right the first time? Or are you looking at downtime? You are experiencing delays in getting the product out to your customers? Or is there excess inventory? You're carrying extra inventory for those just in case moments? Or are you looking at field support or customer complaints where a product batch it didn't quite meet the specs and unfortunately it made its way to the market? And then finally, you're not sure, and that's okay because we're all here to learn. So let's give it about another second or two and then we'll take a look at the results.
Yeah, and just a reminder for those of you who need a certificate of attendance, right now would be the time to answer a poll question because you'll need that. And my apologies, Jennifer. I had this set up for only so they could only choose one, not choose many. My bad.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
oh,
Um,
okay. No
oh,
worries.
okay, let's go ahead and end this poll and share the results.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So rework. Okay. Very interesting. So a lot of people are on the same page with rework as being one of the biggest costs. And then it looks like we've got quite a bit that are coming in second place: supply chain, scrap, and not sure. And that's quite all right. You know, a lot of people don't know. They don't have visibility into that. So, all right, thanks everyone for indulging me on that. I really appreciate it. So let's move on now. Okay, so let's start by taking a look at the bigger picture when it comes to the challenges you might be facing in the world of quality. What you'll see here are some of the common struggles we've heard about from our conversations with manufacturers and our customers at ETQ. And this is regardless of where they are in their quality journey or if they have a quality management system or not. And these are issues that they have experienced over time. So let's dig into these a little bit. Probably one of the biggest challenges we've heard about that they've shared with us is reducing cost. So this can be anything like we just talked about in our poll question, from defects to nonconformances to scrap and complaints, warranty costs, so much more. They're really grappling with how to track it, how to quantify it, and how to avoid that hidden factory of waste and inefficiencies. Then there is the sharing of information. So, how is data shared between systems, teams, locations, and the entire organization? So, how do you take the information that, say, is in a SharePoint file folder or say in the purple folder of changes, and then move it into a centralized system so that it's easily accessible to the people who need to get to it so they can do the job right the first time? And then looking at the next one, this is one we've also really we've heard quite a bit about, and that is compliance. So the challenges that people face when it comes to demonstrating compliance for either government agencies or their customers or both. So what does it take to be audit ready? You know you have an audit coming up, but how do you find all of the information that you need so you're prepared for the audit? And how do you even know you have all the information that you're going to need to pass the audit? And then there are your suppliers. So they also contribute to the complex web of quality management. What do you do to have visibility into your suppliers? Are they complying with your requirements? And if not, can you see the financial impact that they have on those lower quality products that ends up happening, that it has on your bottom line? So, really achieving the visibility into those numbers can be quite manual and quite cumbersome. And then rounding this up, when you are working with people, you've got some folks who might do things one way, and then you'll have a team who has a completely different set of processes. So, how can you ensure consistent quality if processes are not aligned across the organization? So, taking all of this in consideration, and there's so much more that I'm not touching on, maintaining quality can be very complex. And I'm sure everyone here today can talk to their own quality challenges. But for the rest of our time together, we're going to put the lens on the cost of poor quality, what it is, and what it's costing you. Next, please. All right, so let's level set first and define what is the cost of poor quality. So, according to the American Society for Quality, it is the cost associated with providing poor quality products or services. So, looking at it this way, it's the total of financial losses incurred by an organization due to errors or substandard work. So, let's chip away at this. What exactly are these costs? So let's think about it with this classic iceberg image. And we've all seen this before because it's a really good example of showing the difference between the visible costs and the hidden costs. The visible costs are transparent to everyone within the organization, from you to the C suite to the shareholders and the public. And this is all available through 10K reports, balance sheets, cash flow statements. People can, for example, can see how your inventories are trending and so forth. But what everyone does not have visibility to, and where the danger can lurk, is below the surface. So the hidden costs. So, do you know what the ripple effect is of a quality issue throughout your organization? Most folks don't. So let's think about this example. Do you know the impact when a non-conforming raw material holds up a production? So, do you order more material that is needed to compensate, or do you deliver late to your customers? Or if the product makes it to the market, is your reputation or your certification at stake? And then, what does this mean for future opportunities? Now, imagine all of these costs and issues accumulating over time because they're hidden, and then the effect this has on your organization's bottom line. So, a general rule of thumb is that the cost of poor quality in a thriving organization will be about 10 to 15% of operations. But for some organizations, it can be as high as 40% of total operations. So, that can be really significant to an organization's bottom line. Okay, next, please. Okay. So now we have the foundations for a better understanding of the cost of poor quality. And now we all have a really good understanding of the visible and the hidden costs. So, how do you, as a quality champion, begin to tackle this dilemma? We'll start with an electronic quality management system. It's a step in the right direction to help you get your costs down. When you have an EQMS, it provides a place for tracking all of the scrap, the waste, the rework, everything we've been talking about. It will help you to reduce those field failures and preserve and even grow your brand. And don't take our word for it. Talk to our customers. So they shared with us, by participating in a research project with a third party vendor, the value they received with a quality management system. And part of that project was looking specifically at the value they saw when it came to reducing the cost of poor quality. We heard from our customers that they saw real value when it came to bringing down the cost associated with non conforming materials. So, again, what we've been talking about: waste, scrap, rework. They reported back a 10% reduction in field failure costs. So this is, again, very significant, and this all leads to improving your bottom line and your brand reputation. And don't forget, you're preventing the creation of the hidden factory of waste and inefficiencies. So the other points that you see highlighted here are other ROI drivers that our customers shared with us, and these are real results that they received in using a quality management system. Okay, so now I am excited to turn it over to Wendy and Maria. I'm really looking forward to hear how Streck made the EQMS digital transformation. So Wendy and Maria, over to you.
Oh, you need to unmute your mic, Maria.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'll start by sharing a little bit about Streck and what we do. Streck designs, develops, and manufactures quality controls, blood collection tubes, and diagnostic products in the areas of hematology, immunology, molecular diagnostics, and infectious diseases categories for clinical and laboratory and research laboratories worldwide. At Streck, we all have a passion for science and innovation. Quality comes with that. I'll share some company facts here. So we were founded in 1971 and headquartered in Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha's a little bit more well-known of a city than La Vista, so we go with Omaha, Nebraska. Here, our products are manufactured and delivered to over 13,000 laboratories in 65 countries worldwide. Our quality system is compliant to ISO 13485 MedSAP requirements and EU IVDR regulations. We have over 120 patents on more than 20 products, and approximately 18% of our workforce holds a quality function. As you can see from our quality policy, elements call for excellence in services, high quality of products, constant innovation, continuous improvement, which is the core of QA, correct? And compliance. And so in order to not just be compliant, but also go above and beyond, because our drive is to not just meet, but exceed our customer expectations and support company growth in today's competitive market. We realized quite a bit ago that we had outgrown a paper system and knew we could do better. So next, Wendy will share a little bit about how our journey for seeking an EQMS began and the road to implementation.
Thank you, Maria. Yes, so I'm going to take you on Streck's journey from a paper-based system to ETQ reliance. So as is true with nearly all companies who use a paper-based quality management system, we really struggled with how cumbersome it was becoming, especially as the company grew. When I first started here in 2012, I think we had over 3,000 work instructions, procedures, and forms in our paper-based system. If we had a deviation, which resulted in a nonconformance and ultimately a CAPA was initiated, we really had challenges maintaining visibility of the links between the three systems, especially in an audit situation. And so sometimes it was like a treasure map. We'd go to the deviations log to find the deviation number, go find the hard copy deviation, see if there was a nonconformance issued, track that down on the hard copy nonconformance to find out if the CAPA was there and what that CAPA number was. And then find the hard copy CAPA and all the supporting documents that went with that. I'm sure most people can relate with this scenario. It can be a nightmare, especially in stressful audit situations. So we really wanted to find something that provided more visibility. In addition to lacking clear visibility between the systems, our system for routing various documents was, we used a colored folders method. So purple folders were used for document revisions, orange folders were used for change control, and so on. Folders would get lost on somebody's desk, which meant that the document author in a document revision situation would send out emails, have to walk around the building, trying to track down, going to each reviewer's desk to find who had their purple folder. In addition to that, not only the authors could request changes. So somebody would request a change to a document, that would go through QA, the request would be processed, the document start routing in its purple folder. The author had no idea that the change was even coming until they got it for approval. Obviously, it's not in any way conducive to an efficient or transparent system. So in 2013, I was tasked with finding an EQMS system that would work for Streck. Through internet searches, Google searches, and so on, we identified about 12 platforms that had some form of quality system, electronic quality system. Based on our company needs, we narrowed that down to 4. We didn't want something that was just document control or just CAPA. We wanted something that would really integrate together. We sent out requests for information to those 4 that we identified and got responses back. And based on their responses, we narrowed that down to 2. For those 2 companies, we requested on-site demos, and out of that, ETQ Reliance was selected. And we really selected Reliance based on its configurability, its ease of user interface, how all the systems link together, so we could initiate a deviation. From that, we could launch a nonconformance. Those would be dual linked. From the nonconformance or the deviation, we could launch a CAPA, and all of those systems would be linked together. So we did launch document control and employee training first in June of 2014. We did use ETQ's assistance with configuring the document control system and module to fit more with Streck's workflow and how we wanted the reviews and the approvals to go. They came on site. We spent several days doing requirements gathering. They would build it out. We would do testing. We would request changes. It was a lot of back and forth. So it took us about 9 months to get it to where we wanted it to be and to get all of our documents uploaded and to launch. Since then, we've actually implemented a total of 19 modules. The really exciting part for me was when our marketing department came to me and said, we'd really like an artwork approval module that's similar to document control. We don't want it in document control. We don't want the visibility to get lost. Can you build us our own module? And so we did. And so ultimately, we ended up with 4 custom modules: the artwork approval module, design control, which also links to our product risk management module, partner management, which allows us to have visibility to our international registration requests. So all of that was managed previously through emails. And so they would email one of the regulatory affairs team, request documents for a distributor to register our products in any given country. That would go back and forth. They would get forgotten. Emails would fall down the list. So the partner management allows us to see visibility to where all of our products are registered, when those registrations are coming up for renewal, the request that's being made, and the whole team has visibility to that. So with that, I will turn it back over to Maria to continue on with the benefits we've seen.
Thank you, Wendy. So as you heard, Reliance gives us accessibility, both to frontline workers and stakeholders alike. So digitizing thousands of controlled work instructions translates into significantly less time finding documents, finding links for a story, and more time discussing topics that matter, such as risk mitigation. Do we want to make this change? CAPA plans, etc. And then access to that centralized information allows everyone to row in the same direction, reduces silos, especially important for global companies with various manufacturing sites and remote work nowadays. Second item, compliance. And as I mentioned before, not just to be compliant, but above and beyond. So increased training compliance, but also area leadership is in the know on real-time nonconformities or deviations in order to act sooner. Efficiency gains. So digitizing those workflows speeds up time to implement and train on changes rather than track down the status of said change. Integration, so connectivity to other modules that Wendy described provides a complete picture of, let's say, the supply chain. So approved suppliers, supplier scorecards, SCARs, incoming material specifications, etc. So that result is visibility and better management of quality rather than tracking down paper records. And then by allowing Reliance to help us better track and measure our quality metrics, those elements of our quality policy are better supported, allowing our personnel to focus time and energy on the competitive market and what we need to do to fulfill our customer requirements. And that supports at the end our quality culture. So broadly speaking, the role of quality assurance is to be proactive in ensuring processes and products meet established quality standards. And that's everyone's responsibility. No one can be on the sidelines. This leads to consistency and reliability in processes and products, which translates into less cost and waste, as Jennifer described. We avoid the dreaded reworks and scrap, and also increased customer satisfaction and ultimately revenue. So Reliance helps us work smarter. We can identify negative trends sooner and address them before they escalate. And with that, I will turn it back to Jennifer.
All right. Thanks, Wendy and Maria. I appreciate you sharing that. You had some really great nuggets of information, some lessons learned. I think everyone can relate to tracking down information. And as a marketer, I love that your marketing team use ETQ Reliance for approving artwork. All right. So moving along here. So now I'd like to share just a little bit about you, a little bit more with you about ETQ. So as I'm sure you all are aware, there are a lot of phases in the EQMS journey, but no matter where you are at ETQ, we are ready to help you. We have a comprehensive purpose-built EQMS where you can, as we've talked about, reduce costs, streamline operations, and build compliance into your processes that result in improved efficiency, time to market, sustainability, and bottom line results. We also offer a range of professional services, including managed services, to meet your needs at any stage in your quality journey. And as you can see here with ETQ, you are in good company. We serve hundreds of customers of all shapes and sizes across many industries. And we apply learnings and best practices from across all of these industries to provide a unique value to all of our customers. For over 30 years, ETQ has empowered quality champions like you to use quality management as a catalyst for business success. We aim to be a trusted advisor to all of our customers, and we'd love to have the opportunity to share our expertise with you. Also, we are a part of Hexagon, a global leader in sensor software and autonomous manufacturing solutions. All right, thanks for letting me share a little bit more about ETQ with you. And we have now reached the part of our webinar for the Q&A. So Wendy, Maria, are we ready for the questions?
Sure.
Dirk?
Absolutely.
Yep. All right,
Great.
Dirk.
Sure. Before we get started with the questions, just a reminder, if you have questions, use the Q&A button down there towards the bottom of your screen. You'll see it. Just click that. Send your questions to us. And also, I do want to, again, for those of you who need a certificate of attendance, I'm just going to launch a very basic poll here. For those of you who need it, please answer that poll question. And let's get to the first question. I'm not sure if this is for Wendy or Maria, but how did your organization go about the process of defining quality and the value it brings to it? For example, what steps were taken by the organization in finance, quality engineering, and so forth?
As far as going towards an EQMS?
Yes.
So we really did, as we were vetting the different software options, we brought together cross-functional teams, especially once we got to the on-site demos, and really had the cross-functional teams weigh in on what they needed out of the system. Accessibility, ease of configuration, that was a big one, is out of the box. You know, we need this that doesn't have this field that we typically need. And can we do that on our own? Or is that something that every time we want an addition of a field or an addition of a column in a view that we have to put in for the software company to make that change, to make that configuration, which obviously then costs additional money. So really the configurability was a big part of it. And as Maria has mentioned, also the connectivity between the systems and the ease of accessing the data.
I just had another one. Oh, sorry about that. How do you think AI and machine learning can improve or enhance the QMS processes?
That's a good question. So we have yet actually to incorporate AI into our QMS. There are a number of additional packages, I'll say, that ETQ offers to help mine the data and slice and dice it. At the moment, we utilize the data metrics reports that every module has. Those are very efficient and pooling point in time kind of status of the quality system at the moment. So we have yet to venture into additional AI, but following that technology closely, as well as FDA requirements of such software implementation, as all of that is still novel for some industries.
Okay. Are you using document control to collect different documents? For example, incoming inspection report, dimension reports, certificate of material, so forth, to provide a resume report. I'm thinking about document required for APQP or PPAP.
So we utilize document control for controlled procedures, but also purchasing specifications. If that answers that question. Wendy mentioned our separate artwork module for approval of all labeling and brochures and that kind of content. Wendy, do you have something to add on that topic?
I do. So we actually use the receiving and inspection module to house all of our inspection records. It talks to the suppliers and materials module. So we can have all of our approved suppliers, our AVL, all of our purchasing specifications, which Maria mentioned, which are housed in document control. Those are all translated into our material profile in the suppliers and materials module. We have our Reliance system set up so that it talks with our ERP system. So when we get a receipt in, Reliance runs out every, I think, 5 or 10 minutes and grabs any new receiving records that comes in and creates a receiving record in our receiving and inspection module. If it is for an inspection item, then it will also create an inspection record. Each inspection record will then have each of the criteria that it has to meet, whether that's a testing requirement or a measurement requirement or an inspection for fit, form, or function, size, etc. As those get completed, those records are then any records, packing slips or anything are uploaded into that module, into that record. And so we have traceability to all of the inspections that were done. If something fails on incoming inspection, then we can launch a nonconformance directly from that receipt, that inspection record. And from that nonconformance, then we can issue SCARs to the vendor if needed. I hope that answered the question.
Okay, thank you. Does the EQMS have workflow functionality? For example, if you initiate a CAPA and you need to move it from initiated to review to completed.
It does. And that's something that we really enjoy. So out of the box, there are specific workflows for example, in CAPAs. It'll go to an initial review, after draft, root cause analysis, QA review before you start acting on those activities, and then implementation. And so you can also customize those workflows. Granted, that takes just a little bit of work, but you can customize those workflows if you feel like additional steps or phases are needed.
I think, Wendy, you may have addressed this already, but maybe more detail. For tracking nonconformances, how can the EQMS be employed?
So we have our setup. So we have 4 different types of nonconformances. We have an incoming nonconformance, we have in process, we have stock rejection, and then we have finished product. So each of those has a unique beginning identifier to the nonconforming number. With the workflows and the views, you have a lot of visibility to what stage those nonconformances are at. So whether it's at root cause analysis, whether it's at material review board decision or approval. So we use the flow, the views a lot to track. And then Maria and her team uses the module to mine all the metrics. If Maria, you want to go into that a little bit.
Sure. So we have different times that we're evaluating that information. So monthly, we're tracking to see what those metrics tell us and what actions, what trends we see. Quarterly, for management review, it's really convenient to pull that information and report it to senior leadership that's very interested in what those quality data is telling us. So there's different ways, as I mentioned before, to slice and dice that. It's also exportable to Excel, so you can further slice and dice it there.
This is an interesting question. How did you go about presenting to and convincing senior leadership that ETQ is the EQMS for your organization? And I would say broader, what is it that sells leadership on a particular program or software in this case? What is it they're looking for? What did you present to them?
We really presented how intuitive the user interface was. Again, the connectivity, the senior leadership knew the struggles that we had during audits of tracking down a specific nonconformance or a specific CAPA that was related to a customer complaint or a deviation. So being able to show them how all of those modules linked, and with a click, you could get to the records you needed to. But a lot of it really was the user interface, how easy it was, how intuitive it was, and then the configurability and not having to pay every time we wanted to add a field or we wanted to create a new module. We had myself and several of our IT people went through all the training, the designer training for Reliance up through the expert level. So we are fully capable of, from scratch, creating our own modules like the artwork module.
Okay. Again, I think, oh, go ahead.
All right. I was wondering if I could add to that. We also work with everyone to help build a business case for a strong ROI so that you can go to the approvers for funding a project within your organization and show them the ROI of investing in an EQMS. So, for example, we've been talking today about reducing the cost of poor quality, so we can help to show that by investing in EQMS, you can help bring down the cost of, X, Y, and Z within the organization. So we partner and work with you and guide you through the process of building that business case and that ROI as well.
I'd like to add to that a little bit. So I think we all know what our pain points in our respective quality systems are, correct? So as the FDA publishes warning letters, et cetera, it really helps to cement your business case if you align where you are and where you'd like to be through that justification. So example, hey, we see this trending, we're at risk of this, or this could happen because we're unable to thoroughly vet complaints if that's a concern, or supply chain. If you have that business risk, that can help you put some dollars, because at the end of the day, it might come to a financial ROI as you help build that business case. And Jennifer's team is great to partner with for some of that information as well.
Great. Can you go a little bit more in depth about what you were initially looking for in a EQMS?
I think one of the things that I heard, as Wendy mentioned, we broadened this to stakeholders because it is decentralized, meaning QA is not responsible for every department's training. QA is not responsible for every department's work instruction. And so the department and document authors have to have some ownership. Area leadership has to have ownership. It helps when you have buy-in from other colleagues to say, yes, this is great. It's really going to help us in these meaningful ways. And then you have a team that's speaking the same language. Training, ease of training was key. And then accessibility. So once people are trained, making sure that the system is more or less intuitive, and that each module isn't new or so different that it's difficult to work within it, if that makes sense. The modules have a very similar look and feel for creating a new report or pulling reports, and that helps with the training piece.
Yeah, and in addition to that, it really was also having the whole quality system in one software package. So not having a document control system over here and then a non-conforming system over here. And so, yes, they're electronic, but you have no connection between them. So really looking for that connectivity in all the modules that were offered to meet the company's needs and to meet the quality system requirements.
Okay. Now that you are running on an automated quality management system, an EQMS, what benefits, excuse me, what benefits have you seen in terms of quality, or maybe some of the other, what some of the other teams have experienced?
I think we touched a little bit on some of these, but to review, so the amount of time that it takes to update a document is reduced. The amount of time that it takes for employees to access and train on a new document is reduced, so that compliance is sped up. But also having a complete story. So let's say there was a deviation to a process, and then we initiated a CAPA. And from that turned into a change control. All of those reports are linked, so you get a complete story of that product or process history. So you build better historical knowledge of how the process came to be over time. And that's something that everyone has access to. So going back to your entire team rowing in the same direction, you all have access to the same information. And that just makes a world of difference when you're talking about product history and changes and troubleshooting.
Yeah, and I think too, it's helped with audits. When we have an auditor come on site and we're not having to send out and have people track down this document or that document or this CAPA or this log, having it all right there at our fingertips and being able to pull it up. And again, to Maria's point, show them the links between the different systems. We've had many auditors compliment on how impressed they are with the system and with how quickly we're able to get them the information that they're looking for. And everybody knows a happy auditor makes things go a lot smoother.
Yeah, for sure. Does the EQMS capture customer requirements accurately and translate it into a product specification, sample order, success, scale up, so forth? Jennifer, maybe that one's for you, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure I really understand the question.
Can you repeat it?
Sure. Does the EQMS capture customer requirements and translate it into a product specification?
Yes.
Okay. And there we go.
Yes.
Yes, it does. Um, and there was a second part of this question too. I'm trying to translate it. Does the quality, I guess the quality team, does the quality team have the buy-in from technical services and the sales team to make this a success? And I'm assuming they mean the implementation of EQMS. So put that another way, I'm guessing, is you're integrating your EQMS, this new EQMS, ETQ Reliance. How much were technical services and the sales teams brought in to help make that integration a success? That's the way I would interpret that question.
Well, as I mentioned, every time that we have implemented a new module, we brought in cross-functional teams from the whole company. So we would have a representative from every area that may touch or be touched by that module. And so we would spend a lot of time doing requirements gathering and me facilitating, but not making the decisions, letting the users make the decisions of how they wanted the workflows, how they wanted the forms to look, what information they wanted on the forms. So that really drove the buy-in for them to have a say in how those modules turned out and how they ended up ultimately being used.
This might be more for Jennifer, I'm guessing. Does ETQ produce data graphic reports like Power BI?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And Maria touched on it during her presentation. Um, we we have dashboards, and as she talked about, you can slice and dice the information. It's very powerful.
Okay. This is an interesting question. Maria and Wendy, looking back to your initial process when you were gearing all this up and integrating everything, do you have any lessons learned you'd like to share with us or advice for someone out there who is evaluating an EQMS?
I would start by saying, don't be afraid to get started. It may sound like a big undertaking, but looking at the poll numbers, I recall that a good size group selected not sure on that first poll question. And it's hard to improve what we can't measure, right? So this, again, beyond compliance, it starts to really pull at the process improvement, the continuous improvement type of initiatives. It'll help you work smarter, not harder, in order to achieve your goals. I'd say align it with company strategy and see how the EQMS can help tick away at each of those goals.
Was there anything, was there anything in particular, I guess, just kind of piling onto that question a little bit, any surprises, any kind of gotchas as you were trying to, I don't know, move from paper to electronic, things that you didn't think about that, oh my gosh, I wish we'd known this ahead of time and set up for it, that sort of thing?
I don't think there was any, oh my gosh, I wish we'd have known that. I think it was, as Maria said, just getting started and understanding the scope of the number of documents that we had. I think when we implemented the document control module, we had like 3,500 different forms, work instructions, procedures. Fortunately, Reliance has import spreadsheets that help upload all of that metadata and the attachments into the system. But it was big. I'm not going to lie. It was a big undertaking, but the benefit greatly outweighs the effort that was put into it.
Okay.
And then we got so daring that our second set of modules, we actually implemented 9 modules at the same time because they were all connected to each other and we wanted to maintain that connection and that linkage. So it took us about 1.5 years to do all the requirements gatherings, configure the modules how we wanted them, do the validation, and get them implemented. But it was well worth it when we did that.
Oh, great. Well, we are there were some questions we didn't get to. They're kind of specific. So I'm going to let ETQ get back to you on those offline. They're very specific to the product. So rather than deal with them here, it's easier if they ETQ just talks to you directly. So that is it. Wendy and Maria and Jennifer, appreciate the presentation. And Wendy and Maria, thanks for sharing what's been going on at Streck and your journey.
Absolutely. Thank
Absolutely.
you very much for having us.
Yes.
Sure. So that is it for today's webinar. You will be getting an email in about 24 hours that'll have a link to a recording of the webinar. So keep your eyes open for that. You can go back to review the information, share it with your colleagues, watch it again, that sort of thing. So watch out for that. It'll be about this time tomorrow. And that is it. So from all of us here at Quality Digest and at ETQ, thanks for joining, and we will see you at the next webinar. So long.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Everyone.